Hybrid meeting of the Board of Finance to order. Madam Vice Chair Barboa and Commissioner Benson are excused, and Chair Olivas is appearing via Zoom. Second item is approval of the minutes. I move approval of the May 27th, 2025 Board of Finance meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and we will do a roll call vote. Madam Clerk.
Madam Chair Barbara Baca.
Yes.
Commissioner Frank Baca.
Yes.
Commissioner Olivas.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 3, presentation by the County Treasurer, Deputy Treasurer.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, my name is Ryan Travelstead. For the record, going to go through the quarterly report, that pretty standard report that we've presented a couple of quarters now. And so jumping right in, here's our agenda. Introduction slide. I like to keep this slide here just because it sets our priorities. It's really easy to refer back to. We're always going to refer back to safety of principal, liquidity, and then focus on yield when we're talking about the county's cash balances and investments. I also like to keep this slide in here just as a graphical representation as the discussion goes on. If we need to refer back to it, I think it really illustrates where the money comes into the county and where it goes, where it sits in between. Speaking to the safety point, this first slide here talks about the collateral pledged against the county's different bank accounts. And so again, just a high level, if the county has deposits in a bank that fails, the state statute requires that bank to hold 50% of our balance in securities so that if they fail, we then take ownership of those securities. This slide here, no issues. All of our bank accounts were fully collateralized. Next slide, we'll talk about some property taxes. As of June 30th, we collected around 96.67% of the total amount collected, which is pretty on par with previous years. Nothing really out of the ordinary there. Gross receipts tax, you can see for the fiscal year ended, ended at $277.8 million, which does not include the equalization distribution. So factoring all that in together, it's about a 2.5% increase. And you can see there the yellow lines above each of the other previous fiscal years. Jagged and it fluctuates here and there, but overall around 2.5% over the previous fiscal year. Next slide is how we compare the property tax and gross receipts tax actuals to what was budgeted. On the property tax side, we collected 102% of the revenue that we projected. On the gross receipts tax side, we collect around 97.5% of what was collected. And again, this excludes the equalization distribution. If we factor in that equalization distribution, that bumps up to around 99.5% of what was collected. Next slide goes over where the county's funds are sitting in the different portfolios. You can see here at the end of June 30th, we had around $732 million, 5.5 in our bank account, $62 million in the highly liquid portfolio, and so forth. And then on the far right column, you can see the book yield associated with each one of those portfolios. This next slide is a comparison of where we are today versus where we are last quarter and where we are the previous year. And if you see from June 2024 to June 2025, total cash balances have reduced from $781 million roughly to $721 million. That's largely contributed to the drawdown of the ARPA funds. So we're slowly spinning that cash balance down, which is expected. This next slide is kind of more of a graphical representation of how cash balances have trended over the last 5 years. If you can see on the top of each one of the bar charts, there's a handful of tick marks there. And so those are the June time periods from each of the previous 5 fiscal years. And so you can kind of see from June 2020 through June 2023, our cash balances slowly grew, kind of leveled out there in 2024. And then now we're going to start to see those come down as the ARPA money is spent down. Additionally, there's some efforts on the behavioral health side of the house where we're going to start drawing down some of that cash balance that has accumulated. The next several slides detail the investment vehicles that each one of the portfolios are invested in. Again, these are all statutorily approved investment vehicles, all highly rated, very liquid assets. Money markets, an IntraFi bank account and the local government investment pool make up the highly liquid. On cash matched, we add in a couple pieces of commercial paper Fannie Mae and Federal Home Loan Bank, and U.S. Treasuries, excuse me. Same thing on the core portfolio. You see that this draws out a little bit longer in the duration time period, but same asset classes. And then finally on the bond proceeds, same as the previous portfolios, all asset classes that are approved by statute. And here's a graphical representation of where the county's cash balances sit. I like this picture because it shows that we have enough cash on hand to pay bills for the coming 6 months to a year. And then finally, the investment income associated with the different investment portfolios for the year with $34.1 million. And around 21 or so of that is attributed to the general fund. But yeah, really awesome results here for the program that we're operating. And with that, I will turn this over to government portfolio advisors to talk about the investment strategy for the coming quarter. So Deanne or Frank, if you are there.
I am here. Good evening, Chair and members of the Commission. We will present on our report, which you are pulling the slides up from there.
And Deanne, we're on the recommendations for the target ranges, and I'll navigate through.
Perfect. So the recommendations for the sizes, if you recall, we have a very strong discipline that the it's presented at the IOC, and Ryan presents the ranges that we're looking at for each of the portfolio components. The quarter proposals have not changed in the last 3 quarters, maintaining the highly liquid between 45 and 70 million, the cash match between 20 and 300 million. That moves with your tax receipts. And then the key right now is we're really watching the core portfolio. That range was established at 400 to 550. We ended this quarter at 437 million, and likely we'll be bringing that down as liquidity needs are out of the portfolio. So you can see last quarter we did, or 2 quarters ago, we brought that down to raise cash to provide for those lower balances that Ryan just showed and presented to the board. But for this quarter, we're not recommending any changes to those ranges, and we'll maintain the portfolio within those guidelines. Next slide. Specifically for the cash match, that program is working out really well, and we're basically matching securities to the portfolio expenditures that you know of. We are almost funded out to December, so that is working out really well, and we're just recommending to complete that final maturity structure as dollars come available. In the core portfolio, we have a kind of a hole in the middle of our ladder bucket as we liquidated some supranationals between the 2 and the 4-year sector. So we do have some maturities coming due, and the recommendation to the Commission is to build out that middle part of the curve and invest no longer than 7 years in duration. So that will keep us a little to build up the belly and reduce the front end, that 0 to 1 year sector. And then lastly, on strategic asset allocation, we continue to remain higher weighted towards U.S. Treasuries. That is expected to continue as we are not seeing additional yield spread to agencies. So no changes. We'll continue to focus on that tactical allocation based on value in the market. And then lastly is the bond proceeds, which we take the direction from the finance manager's offices and come through Ryan on the specific securities to purchase. So we will wait for that directive and then make those investments. That is it for the presentation for approvals.
Thank you, Deanne. Continuing right along, unless there's questions for Deanne. None. Okay. So this slide here is just a recap of what Deanne had covered for each of the different portfolios. And then I'll shift gears a little bit into our investment policy. So our investment policy says that the policy should be brought to the board once per year. We generally have done that in August historically. In June, what is this month? June, we had a really good investment committee meeting where there was some really good discussion going back and forth on some things that weren't quite clarified in there. So we don't have the investment policy to bring to you this month, but we're hoping to bring a final draft to you in November for review and approval. And finally, previous meeting follow-up at the beginning of the quarterly meeting in May, Treasurer Eichenberg asked for some your support with essentially employee recruitment and retention. The Treasurer's Office has contracted with a group called Viant Consulting Group, and we received their study, the results of their study on the August 6th. Kind of the meat of that report says essentially our job descriptions don't quite capture the highly technical aspects of the different positions we have. So they're recommending to update some of those job descriptions. I've spoken about this with Madam Manager, and we're really excited to talk with the Human Resources Director, as with Julianne, to see about going and how do we incorporate some of those updates to job descriptions. And really just want to take a moment to say thank you for the Board of Finance's support in this area, and in all areas that we work in the Treasurer's Office. And with that, I can turn it over to questions and discussion if there are any items.
Any questions, commissioners?
Just a quick comment.
Your mic.
I just want to thank you for your offers to sit down and brief me. I've done it twice, and it helps me to understand the report and the significance of that. So I just want to thank you for your time and sitting down and helping me understand your presentation.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Chair?
Okay, yes.
Yeah, if I
Madam
could,
County
I would
Manager.
just like to add one point, and that is, one, I've really appreciated all the briefing and collaboration between our offices, so thank you to you and to the treasurer, deeply appreciated. The second is that the issue relative to job descriptions, I also think is a bigger issue relative to how we get more folks interested in the areas of finance and accounting and other areas. So one thing I will just say is that as we're making changes to these job descriptions, we're not just finding it actually in the treasurer's office, but in a number of other offices as well. The assessor's office, I would say even Shirley's team are having some challenges. So I'm hopeful that we'll start here, but I want to make sure that we're looking at all the departments that may be impacted by the same issues as we're trying to attract people to come and work for the great county of Bernalillo. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Manager. So with that, I move to give advice and consent to the proposed quarterly investment strategy as outlined in the Board of Finance report. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Thank you, Mr. Travelstead. Roll call vote, please.
Madam Chair, Barbara Baca.
Yes.
Commissioner Frank Baca.
Yes.
Commissioner Olivas.
Yes, and if I may say something afterwards, Madam Chair, thank you.
Absolutely. So
So called.
that is approved. Mr. Chair?
I just wanted to thank the treasurer's staff, Deputy Treasurer Travelston, and frankly, the whole finance team, because those budget numbers coming in almost at 100% on both of our main revenue sources really speaks to some really good budgeting and hitting those numbers just right. And I know it's every year when we do a budget, we set a projection. It's based on good information, but really good job, because that means that we don't have money that is going unspent, revenue that we collected that's unspent, but it also means that we don't have a shortfall. So great work.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With that, we move on. Let's see. Last item, November 18th is our next Board of Finance at 4 p.m. here in the Ken Sanchez Commission chambers. And if there's no other business, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.